So, in response to what you said, the Hindu society or the Hindu community responded to English education in the way it did because I think it was already colonialized, right? It had already been subjugated psychologically and culturally. So, what do you have to say about that? Like the Middle Eastern coloniality, it is still present. In 1946, B.R. Ambedkar published this book in before partition.
Pakistan partition, India, right?
Actually, make a case for partition. So, in that book, probably on the page 46 or 7, he has said that there are only two ways in which the minority problem of India can be. The first one is to partition India and transfer population. And the second one is by subjugating the same way as Muslims or British did with the Hindus, to subjugate Muslims culturally and psychologically and to render them devoid of their sense of separate identity. Is there a third way? Is there a third alternative? Because I think the second one is too implausible and the first one has already been tried and actually goes against the Sanatan principles.
Right. So the first solution, we are now looking at the implementation of the first solution after 75 years. Do you think it's been a success? No. Okay. So the partition of this country, in the hope that we would be able to live in peace, has proved to be an utter failure. Now, because even that solution was not implemented in the manner that he wanted to, right? Which is the population exchange. The second thing is, it goes back to the root concept. अगर ये आपकी पुण्य भूमि है, then the question of partition can never be on the table. That's one. You are not fighting for the Himalayas exclusively for geonational security or water security or whatever it is. Himalayas are the spiritual epicenter for Sanatana Dharma. And when you have already given Sindh, you have already given those portions which are associated with the Vedic period. Gradually, those territories which are associated with your, let's say, history are being colonized from both sides. Which means effectively tomorrow you will read of these, let's say, these landscapes only as part of your mantras or as part of your practice, but in reality it's out of your hand. So a few days ago when I was talking to someone who was fairly senior and who understands how these things work, the gradual attempt has been to completely colonize northern parts of Bharat, especially the Punjab region and the Himalayan region, so that your Hindu identity is completely eviscerated. Imagine someone going to the Kailash Mansarovar and planting the red flag of the communist. For me, that's harakiri, that's sacrilege, that's blasphemy out and out. That's exactly what is happening. Two, therefore, is the first solution the better solution? Well, the first solution could have worked if those voices which were asking for Hindu unity and Hindu assertion had been given a chance. They were branded the extremists, they were branded the let's say the revolutionaries, and they were marginalized completely. I've said this in a previous discussion, and in the book I've clearly pointed out that while the revolutionaries continued to carry on the battle against the British through their own resources, the society did not come forward to help them either with money or anything else, because they were not seen as the mainstream option. So if you were to ask me whether the Hindu society was already colonialized, it is my view that the minute of 1835, which led to the introduction of the English education, and the formation of the Congress party, or let's say the Congress as a platform in 1885, marked the most significant milestones of taking away the Kshatriya and the revolutionary spirit of Hindus. Because both of them were meant to first kill you culturally and then to take away your political independence. As a consequence, शस्त्र शास्त्र से ही आता है, और आपने एक बार शास्त्र को रिप्लेस कर दिया तो शस्त्र पकड़ने की जो हिम्मत है वो भी चली जाती है. When everybody wonders how do these people produce suicide bombers, he is still in touch with his roots. He is so confident of what he is doing, and he has been indoctrinated into it so much that you don't know if you have the ability to do any of these things. Forget even suicide bombers, I'm not even going on those lines. Do you have the ability to stop someone if he chooses to wield a knife right in front of you on religious lines on the streets? Your first, let's say, resort will be to run away from the place. When you say that Hindus were already colonialized, you have to realize one thing. The British took power from whom? The Marathas. After the Third Anglo-Maratha War of 1818, which was fought for Delhi. Plassey and Buxar were very small parts of the Bengal province at that point. The battles of, let's say, Plassey and Buxar did not immediately project them as an all-India power. They were still a small power because the Marathas were still great. Even after the 1761 war, they continued to have a lot of, let's say, territory under their control, thanks to who? Mahadji Scindia. The man single-handedly restored the Maratha glory. So considering that, I would believe that they went about it in a slightly smart fashion, which is after the defeat of the Marathas, the introduction of education within a period of 1817 to 1835 is less than 20 years, education was introduced. And allow me to say this, something that I'm bound to be hated for, is that the success of the British man was in the co-option of the elites of the Hindu society fully. It is the elites of the Hindu society who learnt English first, who gave up their traditional professions. And consequently, you gave the other side an opportunity to divide you from the rest of your community. And since you chose to associate yourself with the British identity, obviously you have also given the missionaries an opportunity to start harvesting souls from the rest of the communities. In stark contrast, the religious elites of the Muslims continued to be associated with their traditional institutions. That's why I constantly trace the trajectory of the Sayyids on the one hand in the Muslim community, the Brahmins and Kshatriyas of the Hindus on the other community. Now I'm bound to be accused of, let's say, anti-Brahmin bigotry. Sorry, this is not bigotry, this is a statement of fact. Because one of the reasons that the Muslim establishment was outside the scope of the British establishment was because of a conscious decision taken कि हम अंग्रेजी नहीं सीखेंगे and we will follow a policy of remaining aloof from the colonial establishment. The first major change to that came from Syed Amir Ali in Bengal, then followed by Syed Ahmad Khan. Even then they decided that we will give primacy to both forms of education and the goal will be to reclaim Muslim state power. I would like to see which article or constitution of the debate of the Congress effectively said that the goal of the Congress is to reclaim the Maratha state power or the Hindu state power. They never said this. Every time Lala Lajpat Rai or Aurobindo Ghosh were exhorting them to focus on Hindu unity, or even Tilak would say this, their statement was, हम हिंदू पार्टी नहीं है, हम सेक्युलर पार्टी हैं. आज के डेट में ये कौन कह रहा है, आप सोच लीजिए.